Well, I like to.
You good?
Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
Jen,
Nice to meet you.
Jen?
Alrighty.
All right, here we go.
Alright.
Oh, see, I told you. Every time I always forget. There's going to be one time I'm not going to remember at all to turn this on. And that's going to be the end of everything.
It's funny to me, but I don't know if everyone else knows.
Well, it's going to be on.
Oh, yeah, that's better reminder on here.
Here we go.
Alright, you look nice.
The phone's going off at the show.
I know it
Weekend.
is. Exactly what it is.
There's always one.
The following is brought to you in part by MFC Studios. The views of the show's host and guests do not necessarily reflect those of the management, owners, or staff of this radio station. And now, it came from the radio.
And welcome once again to It Came From The Radio, the official show of the Big Apple Con. This is your host, Mark Torres, speaking. We're here live in front of a live studio audience. At East Meadow Public Library for our 93rd live show. I'm here with our senior correspondent, Charlie Saladino.
Hello, fun seekers.
We have Man Jenny Feldy.
Good day, good evening.
And we're going to have our special guest we're talking to with and about, which is awesome, makes my life easy because she's right here. It's a children's horror author, Anastasia Garcia. So, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking to Anastasia in just a few minutes. But before we do that, we have to take it away with the news. The news is brought to you in part by the fine folks of sci-fi.radio. That is sci-fi.
So go Wi-Fi.
As well as the fine folks of the Big Apple Con, which we are the official radio show of, celebrating over 79 years of completeness and pop culture stuff. For more information, go to www.bigapplecc.com. The next convention is already scheduled for November the 22nd. Tickets are on sale right now, so you can buy tickets now and then wait 6 months to go to the convention. Also, I want to give out shout outs for our Patreons, of which there are Danny Grillo, award-winning director Jared Burrell, Newsday famous Reza Media, Shadow Rabbit Art, Yasmin and Ray, The Huracan, and Millie Portes. Want to have your own little shout-out? Go to our website, www.itcamefromradio.com. Little button on there takes you right to our Patreon page. Also on the It Came From Radio website is my book, Designated. A book about two warring alien races fighting over a new discovered power source. The war finds its way to planet Earth, and as a result, some humans gain abilities. Issue 1 is on sale right now, and Issue 2 is in pre-order. All right, so normally we take it with the sad news, but this week we have no sad news. We're just going to go straight to our regular, not as sad news portion. Let's see. So from the That's a Lot of Nuts department.
That's a lot of nuts.
The new film, The Thunderbolts, has taken the #1 spot in the domestic box office, pulling in $74.3 million in ticket sales in its first week release, beating out the new horror film Sinners, which came in at #2 spot, making an additional $31.1 million in its second week release. For those of you keeping track, the Minecraft movie is still the highest grossing film of this year so far, with $399.8 million, followed by the Captain America 4 with $200.3 million. Thunderbolts comes in at number 6. Anastasia, did you see Captain America, Sinners?
I have not seen. I'm ready to go to Sinners, but I'm also a mom, so it's been hard to get away from the house to find a nice good date night to go watch Sinners. But I'm dying to go.
How
see
old
it.
are your children?
He's only a year old, so he's little.
Well, see, you won't even understand. You can take it to X-rated. You know.
You would know.
You know, it's funny. When I was a kid, growing up, I used to watch Exorcist and Friday the 13th as a kid.
Of course,
You just sat me in front of the TV and you saw it,
Me too.
whatever.
Same, me too.
Yeah.
Did you see Sinners?
No.
Should I ask you about the other ones?
I saw Captain America.
Oh,
You
okay,
saw
good,
Captain
good.
America.
I did.
Did you enjoy it?
It was all right.
See, the takeaway from this is take your children from 0 to 5 before the memories become permanent to anything goes, right?
Yeah.
Not rated, X-rated.
Well, not X-rated.
Why not? Who cares? It's not going to stick with them. They say age 5, the memories stick.
Okay.
So
I think it'll stick with the people in the audience. They'll remember that I brought my
Oh, screw
baby.
that.
Yeah.
You know what happened? You know one of the worst things people say on their deathbed is that they wish they didn't care about what other people
True.
thought.
It's true.
All right.
I'll take my baby to all your movies.
All right, now this is gonna move on.
All right, all right.
All right,
Hey,
moving
leave
on
Howard
from
down
the,
the road.
do you think it was a scam department? All right.
All right.
In 2023, Gaze in Space, that's the name of the company, I'm just repeating it as
Very
is,
cool.
is a non-profit organization made the first ever Galactic Diversity and Inclusion Convention. According to reports, it was underattended but well received. In 2024, the second annual Galactic Diversity and Inclusion Convention was also held and featured a wedding between the convention organizer, which is Dan Deavy, and his husband, which was officiated by Star Trek actress Denise Crosby. Once again, according to reports, it was underattended. Now, this year, the third annual Galactic Diversity and Inclusion Convention was canceled, but only via email to advance ticket holders, basically anyone who had already bought a ticket. The website and social media accounts made no mention of this, and both were still selling tickets. The email that people got read in part, we regret to inform you that the Galactic Diversity and Inclusion Convention, originally scheduled for May 2nd to the 4th of 2025 in Philadelphia, has been canceled. Between the government's recent actions against DEI initiatives and a huge drop in uncertainty of the stock market, we no longer have the support and a financial backing that sustained us during our first 2 years. We are deeply grateful for your support and enthusiasm for this event, and we truly value and trust you placed by purchasing a ticket. While full refunds are available for all ticket purchases, we humbly ask if you would consider allowing your purchase to serve as a donation instead. This generous contribution will help sustain our mission of promoting diversity, inclusion, and community building, ensuring that we can outline creative impact experiences in the future. Now, what's interesting is to note.
Seriously.
Wait, but here's the thing.
There's more?
Yes, there's a lot more to this story. What's interesting to note is that number one, as of this day that I was writing the news, which was yesterday, no refunds have been given. Number two, the credit card processor says that the company already has the money and is unable to refund anything with no contact from Dan, the organizer, or anyone else from the company. Number three, Dan has been under constant attack online, so much so that there is a website dedicated to his, quote, lies about the two preceding conventions and his organization in general. And number four, Dan has taken to social media, initially stating in part, I am absolutely appalled by what is being said about me. I am truly in shock. Refunds will be sent. This was made clear in the email I sent to all ticket holders announcing the cancellation of the convention. I should have also stated that the refund process was not going to be instantaneous. It was my fault. It's only been a day and a half since the convention would have ended, and I'm already being crucified beyond belief. I am also inviting anyone who has questions or concerns to join me for a Zoom meeting on Thursday, May 8th at 9 p.m. to talk to me directly. However, after the Zoom meeting, Dan says, you know, we did the Zoom last night because we wanted to give people the respect of taking the time to answer their questions directly, explain why after 8 years and 300 events, we were forced to cancel one for the very first time, and explain the plan of processing the request for refunds. But aside from one person who was actually there to work together to find a positive way forward for everyone, all it did was to give the most hateful, vindictive people I've ever met the extreme misfortune to know more material and to pick apart the spin against me. Let me be very clear. Jerry Ryan, who's a Star Trek actress, was an absolute dream come true for us. I didn't stop smiling or doing occasional dances around the room for 3 days after she confirmed. When I talked to her about how badly our ticket sales were hurt because of all the lies, and
Yeah, but
my point was that even with Jerry, we couldn't overcome the hate and save the event. I honestly have no idea how these despicable people can sleep at night. All they care about is hurting others to make themselves feel better, and the fact that so many people have brought this into their is terrifying, and we'll be sending email updates regarding refunds to all ticket holders, but we will no longer be participating in the cesspool that the social media has become. And finally, there is a clip of Dan circling online from that Zoom meeting of him clearly stating that the ticket sales for the third convention were extremely low beforehand, and the addition of actress Jerry Ryan made zero impact to the sales. So, do you think it was a scam?
Sure.
What do you think?
Well, you had these 1 and 2, which were failures.
You had 1 and 2, which were underattended, right?
Were underattended.
That's
failures.
okay.
And failures. Then you have the gall to put a 3 out, and then you say the reason we have to cancel is like because of the stock market. No,
Right.
because that convention sucked. It's that simple. It's that plain and simple. He's blaming the stock market. I mean, I don't want to see. He's saying he's going to give refunds.
That's what he's saying.
Or a donation
Or a donation.
to the crazy people that want to do that. I wouldn't badmouth them. I wouldn't say. But what do you think's going to happen when you have a failure convention and you try to say this is like Skyline? It was so bad, but they made a sequel and a third sequel.
Yes, they did.
It's the same thing. I mean, that's my thoughts on it. You know, first thing doesn't it quit. Invent something else. Call it something else so people don't, say, oh, I'm not going to that.
What do you think, Jen? You think it's a scam? You think it was
You know what? I'm
legitimate?
not sure. I mean, blaming it on the stock market and the DI stuff, that sounds. If I had to pick if he's lying or not, I'm gonna say he's lying, and that makes me not like the guy. But I'm really trying to be fair, and there's really nothing you said aside from that's like that horrible. I mean, asking for a donation is like, hey, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. It's not that hard to enforce donations. That would be okay. I'm gonna kill you now.
Yeah, different.
But he just asked, and then then maybe wouldn't have to. But what I want to see is the website that's saying all these horrible things about him, and that would skew me one direction or the other.
So
yeah.
in due
Yeah.
diligence, I did go
Oh,
look at the
good.
website.
Thank you. That's what I
Hold
want.
it up.
I was like, next episode.
It was a
please.
lot of things on there, and it's the internet, so
Right.
you have to take everything with a
Sure.
grain of salt.
Sure.
But
sure.
one of the things that stood out to me was that the second convention
Right.
that they did, which
Right.
had the wedding,
Right.
apparently it was supposedly a spontaneous event that had happened during the convention.
It
But
was.
according to their documents on the website,
Yeah.
that's there, it says that they had planned this for months,
Ah.
and they had used the convention as an excuse to pay for the wedding. And because
Go
every
mingle.
time the conventions were underperforming,
Yeah.
each time he used the money to pay for the previous convention. So if he made the first convention, he didn't make money.
Right.
He made the second convention, and he's using the money from the second convention to pay all the people back that he owed to the first convention.
Yeah.
And then the third convention was to pay the people back to the second convention. But the
Right.
third convention, the sales were abysmal,
Yeah, they had to
according to
just-
his
yeah,
own
yeah.
words. And then he's like, all right, I'm out.
Well, one quick question: whose wedding was this again?
This is the event organizer.
Is his wedding.
Dan Deavy.
That's a big red flag.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
And
a big
just
red
think,
flag.
if people did donate their money for the ticket sales, there could have been a fourth convention.
So, Anastasia,
Or another wedding.
I don't think it's a scam, but I do agree that I think it's just poor business. Like so you put on a show, you have the best intentions, but maybe you don't get the turnout, or
Right.
and you don't properly invest the money, and then you're like, maybe I could do it again. I have high hopes, and then it just continues to spiral.
Yeah.
So it's basically free market at this point, where maybe folks just don't want to go. Maybe it's not the right
Yeah.
positioning. Maybe it's not the right time or place.
Yeah.
And then revisit when you have a bigger idea and more backers, perhaps. So
Yeah.
maybe not a scam, but just poor business, I think.
So, I mean, we've done, over the 23
Very
years we've been
likely.
doing the show, we've done many conventions,
Oh, yeah,
both
many
good,
scam- oh,
both
yeah,
bad.
yeah, yes.
We've known plenty
Yes.
of organizers, and
Yeah.
I've seen how behind it the worth of a convention is.
Yeah.
Sometimes conventions just do not do well that
Yeah.
one year,
Happens all the time.
and then they'll do better the next year.
Yeah.
Right.
But what I find about this particular case is that
Blame it on the stock
they
market.
canceled the convention, but they didn't tell anybody except
Yeah,
people
I
who
think
bought the
that's
tickets.
bad
The
business
website
too.
was
Yeah.
still active. active, and they were still taking in
Yeah, that's bad
tickets.
business.
So that's
Yeah.
that's
That's
the
a
problem that
fraud.
I have. You have a convention, you have a website,
Yeah.
you have the staff, or if you do it yourself,
Yeah.
just put a note. Sorry, convention's canceled, tickets
Right.
failed. But they're still taking the money in, and
Right.
that's the
For the
question
wedding,
that I'm
you have to
having.
pay the wedding.
It's like the producers.
It's actually like the producers, the movie, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
We're
just
gonna- we want a play
they-
that fails.
they
but
have
let's
yeah.
get this money in.
They have to make it fail so they can make money on the insurance.
Yes.
It's just the weirdest thing. And then the fact that the more I went into it, the crazier and crazier it
Yeah.
got. Like there's this website about all this thing that, like, who makes the time for that?
Right.
Who's not doing nothing? I got nothing else better to do than make
Yeah.
this crazy website about this guy.
That's what makes me think he might be a bad guy.
But like, but once again, it's the internet. Like,
It's
I-
messy.
Yeah.
It's
if
messy.
somebody came along like, oh, I don't like this guy, I'm just gonna make all their quote unquote lies, and,
Right.
you know, about you. You've had people
Sure.
say things about you.
I haven't had a website.
Yeah, I haven't had
No
a
one's made a
yet.
website.
No, but I do
Not
know
yet.
someone that I could see a website being made, and it's
Right.
because he's so bad.
Okay.
So bad. So maybe he's that bad.
Could you see the financial consultant? Nobody's donating. Give the money back. Give the money back.
And what about all these people that were so excited to celebrate being gay, or you know, people
And
Gay in
being attracted
space.
to the same sex, and now they can't do it anymore
Stay in
because
space, I think that was
they
it.
were all excited, and then they
And
get
Alyssa
there.
Shook
What?
came down.
Well, that's
Oh,
the other
well,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
you didn't tell his fans. You didn't tell the fans.
Right.
You want to do right. You always want to do right by the people that support you.
Right.
Along the
And
way.
They
so-
probably
And
had
they're
like
your
rainbow
biggest
clothes
fans.
picked out, and then they didn't even find out the thing was canceled. You know?
Right,
That's
so
bad-
you
that's bad
spend
business.
you
Yeah.
spend
That's how
money
you burn
on
bridges.
hotels, on travel, on everything,
Of course.
and then
Yeah.
you get there and the convention is canceled. There's no
Yeah.
other notification, especially if you had
That's
bought
crazy.
tickets after that
Yeah.
email was sent out.
Yeah,
That's the other
then
thing.
that's also negligent too.
Right,
Where
the
you're not
emails-
allowed to.
It's a fraud.
Yeah.
The emails were sent out on the 20th of April. The convention was on May 2nd. They were
Oh.
still selling tickets.
Oh.
And it was actually on ABC News
Oh.
that it was canceled in Philadelphia. And there was
Oh.
people who came down and didn't know
Whoa.
what to do.
Oh,
That's
man,
how I
that
found
is-
out.
that is-
That's-
They'll never come back to a
Right, that's how I
convention
found
if you've
out
done
about
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting to that convention
Crazy
center is
thing.
Oh, that's
not
But
fun.
I will keep on following up and we'll see. where this
Yeah,
goes.
what do these people do with all their rainbow underwear?
I guess
Like,
we're
where
gonna
am I
find
gonna
out.
wear it? The Chinese restaurant?
We will find out.
Yeah.
So
City
moving
brotherly
on,
love.
from the Do We Really Need More TED department, none other than NBC has announced that not only a second season of the TED prequel series is underway, but now an animated series which is also in the works of original cast member Mark Wahlberg, who played the father, Seth MacFarlane, Jessica Barth, and Tammy were going along with Amanda Seyfried from TED 2. Are you a fan of TED?
Oh, Ted, yeah,
Ted,
I love Ted.
the
I love
rabbit,
Ted.
the bear.
Rabbit.
Yeah, the bear. I love it. I love the two movies.
Did you see, so you saw them both? Did you watch the series?
No,
Are you gonna watch the series?
no.
Are you gonna watch the prequel animated
No.
series? Alright. Jen,
Is the series animated?
the
No.
sequel series is gonna be animated
Oh.
with the original cast members of the movies coming back.
Wow.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
prequel series is with a different cast members,
Okay.
which has also got a second season.
Alright,
Were you a
sounds
fan of
cool.
the
First
Ted
one? I
series?
saw one.
You
I didn't
saw
see
one?
I didn't know there was a second
You didn't see
one.
the.
Really?
You didn't
Yeah,
watch-
I didn't get the email
You didn't
because
watch the
what's this
Ted
guy's
universe?
name? No one
TV?
sent me an email, so you know.
Wow.
No, I had no idea.
Well,
You're a Ted
I
fan?
didn't realize that there was a TED universe, like
Right.
Marvel Cinema, TED
Oh.
Cinematic Universe happening.
Right.
I didn't think that there'd be. I mean, maybe there was a huge audience for TED 1. TED 1 was very popular.
Yeah.
For TED 2, was there an even bigger audience for
Right.
TED 2 that garnered a
Yeah,
show?
I didn't think so. I thought Ted 2 would kind of just petered out and did.
And then they were like,
Fine.
man, there's a second season
And then
of the
they made,
show.
right, they
That's
made a
nice.
series,
So
which
there
I
must
thought was
be-
funny. And
Wow.
now they're gonna make a second season and an animated
that's
because
wild.
that's
Huh.
the new thing.
Okay.
And what
Where's
you
the
gotta
series?
realize, I mean,
streaming.
if anybody saw Ted,
Yes,
there's no way that could come to TV.
and yet it did.
And, well, so it has to be like,
It's on a streaming service, so
Yeah.
that way you get away with all the
They
dirty.
don't have ratings.
Oh.
Yeah.
They don't need ratings.
Oh.
So moving on
Okay.
from the, I guess they are a team forevermore department. None other than Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures have announced that not only will there be a second season of their MonsterVerse series, Monarch: Legacy of Monsters, but there is a new Godzilla King Kong sequel called Godzilla X Kong Supernova.
What?
For those of you not paying attention, or care for that matter, this will mark the third time these two characters will share the screen and billing with Godzilla vs. Kong and Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire as the two sequel movies.
Ex-con?
I was, not X-Con,
Oh,
Kong, the monkey,
I was like,
King
what, you
Kong.
break so many laws and now he's a convict? You like, oh, this guy is a warrant, you're
See?
gonna do a
He's
bid?
not, he's not getting jobs because he's the next con.
So,
Yeah, what?
you mentioned something that I think our senior correspondent Charlie might know. Bambi versus Godzilla, do you remember that? Okay.
What?
So there was an animated short.
I love
When
that.
I was a kid, it came out. It was called Bambi versus Godzilla.
Wow.
Animated short, a short
Right.
isn't the word for it.
Like
It's like,
2 minutes maybe,
well,
3
maybe
minutes.
if that
Okay.
long.
That was great.
So it was actually this was in my elementary school. They played it
Wow.
in elementary school. It was
Okay.
a black and white cartoon with Bambi. It was a deer
Yeah.
eating grass, and the
And he
credits
was-
were rolling.
It
Yeah.
was just
It was
grazing
just
and
grazing
looking
along.
so beautiful.
You wanna end it?
Well, yeah, it was, what was it, meets Godzilla?
I think it was Bambi meets Godzilla.
Okay.
So he's just, you hear the nice little wind flutes
Yeah.
and like in a second you see a big Godzilla and all you see is Bambi's four things.
And that was it.
That was
Yeah,
it.
That was the
And then
end.
it was
Okay,
over.
okay,
So
sure.
Bambi versus, he kills
Yeah,
Not
Bambi.
that's
versus,
it, done.
he
So
really
now it's
wins.
King Kong, the monkey,
Hanging on it, yeah.
Right,
versus Godzilla
right,
for the third.
for the third,
Third
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Wow.
Are you familiar with any of this?
I heard it was not great, but now they're gonna do it a third time, so someone's watching, right?
Well,
Why can't
it's
they
making
just-
the money.
Right.
Yes.
I can say that.
Why do they have to put these extravagant names on? Why can't it be Godzilla
Super.
2, Godzilla 3,
That's what I'm
X-Con 1,
saying.
X-Con 2?
And what's Supernova? They go into space with Elon?
I don't-
What's going on?
But if it's X-Con, does he get to
Right.
fight Godzilla in a striped suit and a
Right.
prison suit?
I heard X-Con
Exactly.
That would be great.
Or
Is
he's
it
like-
X-Con? Is
Yeah,
it
but
my
like,
accent?
but
Is that it?
like X
With a big number
Right,
on the
like
right.
he's no longer Kong, he's dropped.
Oh,
the last-
yeah.
Is that what it is?
Or maybe
What
it's
it just says, it's just like X. Oh, I know what you're talking about, like with the like plus. Almost.
Yeah,
yeah,
the-
like
yeah.
by.
So it's they're together.
I see,
and
I see,
then
I
they
see.
have
Oh,
the name
I
of the
see,
movie.
I see.
Because they had the
Okay.
Godzilla movie.
Because I was
they had
thinking
the
like
King Kong movie.
EX.
I was
Oh,
like,
no,
is he a
it's
rapper
the
now? Like
X.
Exhibit?
I know,
Yeah.
like what?
Is he gonna
Well,
pimp my ride?
The X-Con redemption.
Moving on. Moving on.
This is the best.
From the,
Okay.
this is how all biopics should be labeled department. Recently, a new film about the Press Your Luck scandal was released. It was called The Luckiest Man in America, and it tells the true story about this guy who basically memorized the pattern of the whammy on the CBS game show in the 80s.
Yeah.
What's interesting about this film is before the actual movie starts, they put a disclaimer up, and it said verbatim, "This film is a dramatization of certain facts and events. Some of the names have been changed, some of the events and characters have been fictionalized, modified, or composited for dramatic purposes."
Okay.
Now, we've been talking about biopics for a while on our
Yeah,
show,
right,
and
right.
they're not real.
Right,
That's why
right.
I thought the Weird Al Yankovic biopic was great, because the joke was it's a
It's
completely
never real.
fake
Yeah.
biopic.
Right.
And the problem is that many people who don't know about the real story or have been or lived through it, they watch the movie and they think that's how it was. But there's so many glaringly
Go on.
controversial things that were in the movie, such as the Freddie Prinze movie, that the performances didn't happen in that order in the movie.
Okay.
For the Queen with the guy the hell. The guy who played, you don't know the guy who played the Queen. What was that movie called?
The guy who played who?
The Queen biopic. Freddie Prinze.
Freddie
Freddie
Mercury.
Prinze Jr.
Yes.
Sorry. Freddie
Freddie
Mercury.
Mercury.
Freddie Mercury, thank you.
Yes,
Freddie
yeah,
Mercury,
yeah,
that was
like
it.
Freddie
So so
That was a biopic.
they
It wasn't a-
right, but they
okay.
change stuff around, they move
Yes,
stuff around.
yes.
It's true of all of them, so it's not really what really happened.
Yeah, it's not
And I
actually
find
like
that these guys, because it's a movie about the game show scandal,
Right.
Yeah.
and they put this out there,
Right.
well, I think that they should do that for all of them now. Because that makes more sense to put that out there, because that way you know that it's a movie, it's for entertainment, it's not
Right.
it's not a documentary. And even documentaries aren't factual and real.
Right.
So what do you think about that, Jim? Were you familiar with the Price is Right? Price is Right.
Oh,
Price is Right?
I actually made an entire elaborate game. I don't know if it took me months as a kid. I wish I could find it. I was thinking about it recently, but it was a spin-off of a whammy game, like my own homemade whammy game. And it took it was my life dedication when I was little for a long time.
So you used to watch.
I thought it was so cool, that whammy creature.
Right.
It was like, it was super cool.
Do you remember the guy the scandal? You don't
No,
remember?
I don't know anything about this.
So you remember?
And I
the
won't find
scandal?
out because the story's not right.
No, pressure luck. With
Yeah,
the whammy.
pressure luck. Yeah.
No whammy, no whammy, stop, and then the whammy
Right.
comes up, they win money. It's
No
like
whammy,
this big
no
board,
whammy,
and
no
then like
whammy.
the-
And then,
it changes.
No.
No. Anastasia?
I never watched. No, it was before my time.
So they made
Oh,
a
yes.
new
Well.
they made a new version of the game show called Whammy. It's
Right.
on TV
Sure,
right now.
sure.
So basically, they have 3 contestants. There's a board on the screen, and they have random images on all different TV monitors. And there's a random square that flashes on all the TV
Sure.
monitors, and you hit the button, and you'll stop on certain things,
Right.
and
Sure.
you win prizes. Or if you get the Whammy, it takes away all your money.
Right.
This guy, because back then they didn't think about this ahead of time, he memorized the patterns.
Yeah.
And so he was able to win, and
That's
he
very
won
cool.
so
Oh,
much
wow.
money.
Wow.
And it was a controversy because basically it's like counting cards.
Yeah.
course.
You know, it's not cheating,
But it's not.
but it's
using
brilliant.
your mind.
You're working the system.
Yeah, yeah,
You
you're
figured it out.
You
smarter
figured it
than
out,
everybody.
right? So
You
he did.
use your wiles. You
Right.
use what you had
Yeah.
at your
And
disposal.
you know, at that point in time, they're like, CBS was going to lose a lot of money. It was going to be a big
Right.
controversy that this guy beat the system.
Wow.
And they actually made it a 2-part airing. He made a whole bunch of it. He actually got to keep the
Sure.
money.
Wow.
But
That's fair.
But they made a documentary about it, and now they
That's
made
cool.
this, you know, this
Fictionalized
biopic
biography.
about it. So I think
Well,
it's weird that that A, it happened,
yeah.
and that they decided to put this disclaimer on it.
I think I think nowadays things are blending a little too a lot. People are looking. There are things that are designed a little bit nefariously to look real, and they aren't real. And I just think people don't have the knowledge or the skills to be
Yeah.
able to critically analyze what they're looking at as fact or as fiction. And so I don't mind when they add a little extra layer of.
Yeah.
Hey, just so you know, we fictionalize a little bit. This is for entertainment purposes, and that way you can go in there fully
Right.
taking it in and enjoying it, and not being like, wait, was that actually real?
Right.
So I don't mind it. I think it's always nice to do that.
I think they should do it more, is what I'm
Yeah, and then
Yeah. Well, I think maybe society just needs to like everyone thinks drinking water is good for you. It's like, okay, fact. How about look around the room and know that almost everything you see is BS, including the CDC guidelines, the WHO, the FDA. You know, that's it. And if you know that everything, you have that disclaimer day one, your parents raised you right, then then you can go from there.
Well, there's the
Because what is real anymore?
well, there is the old saying.
There's more that's not real than real.
The only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything. That's
Sure.
the saying,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So moving on to the last bit of news.
All right.
From the isn't the whole point to not use your phones department. None other than Blumhouse Films has announced that during their one-night-only re-release of their films Megan and Annabelle and Ma, they have partnered with Facebook and Instagram's Meta to make Movie Mate.
Yeah.
Executive says, Movie Mate is only available to moviegoers who are in the theater and works by DMing the Instagram account at Megan to start the experience, allowing moviegoers to second screen during the film to access exclusive content, trivia, behind the scenes, and info in real time. The entire experience is designed to leverage Meta's capabilities to augment and up-level the second screening viewing experience, aimed at generating excitement ahead of the release of Megan 2, which is on June 27th, and includes sneak peeks, exclusive recorded messages from the directors and talent of the films, and surprises in select markets. They also say, we are excited to continue our long-standing history of innovation in theatrical space with our friends at Universal Pictures. The Megan and Movie Mate is the first ever to co-market moviegoer experience. We are happy to introduce filmmakers by the way of the Instagram Direct click-to-messenger ads, and are thrilled to be working with Universal Pictures and Blumhouse to deliver rich experience designed to get audiences back in the theaters. Now,
Genius.
you go to watch a movie, and now they're encouraging you to use your phone
Yeah.
during the movie.
Right.
That is the second screen experience. What kind of ridiculous thing is that? And personally, this is my opinion.
Yeah.
It's the stupidest thing ever.
The
Charlie?
movie-going experience is walking in and watching the movie, and
Right.
you don't have to work. Just watch the movie
Right.
and enjoy it. They're going to throw people out of the theater. There's going
But
to
it's encouraged. This is what the
Right.
movie people
no,
want you
it's
to
not.
do.
It shouldn't be encouraged.
Yeah, sure.
Because how are you going to pay
What do you
attention to
think?
people in the
Well,
audience,
you know-
someone on the phone getting loud?
You know, they say
I
you
went to
can't
movies
beat
in
'em,
Philly in
join
college.
'em.
and certain
So people are on
minorities
their
talk to the
phones
screen.
anyway.
And I was the only
and
white guys in there. They
It's
go,
a problem, so
"Movies
they're
on
like,
phone."
hey, why don't we just give them a reason to be on their phones since you can't get them off their phone?
You were saying, bring your baby. That's
Yeah,
a distraction in
exactly.
itself. So you
Like,
can.
right.
Well, okay, so a disclaimer, I used to work at Meta. I used to work at Instagram.
Really?
Yeah, I worked in marketing.
Oh,
so
here we
anything
go.
I say,
Oh, here we go.
Anything I say is personally just me. I don't know anything secret about how Meta works, but
Sure.
this is all my personal opinion. But generally, they know, and people in general know that we all second screen our experience. When we're sitting watching TV, a lot of people are now just on their phone, not paying attention or half paying attention. And they know that. And then Meta has a goal, too, of training their AI, and they need more people to use it in more interesting ways. And so this is just an element of, we're just going to get more people actively using it and trying it in different ways, so that way they get more comfortable with it, and they will allow us to use it more often. And we can find new uses for it. And this is one way. They wanted to fluff up essentially what is a soft market for movies. Nobody's going to the movies anymore.
Right.
Nobody's spending money on popcorn. Movies are too expensive. Nobody's paying attention anyway. It's hard to get people in the theaters. So what if we help them? But I do think these are just two misaligned things. Nobody wants to go to the movies to also be on their phone. Nobody who really enjoys the movie experience wants to add phones to the mix. Phones are just an uncomfortable addition to what used to be a fun and kind of casual experience. Like you were saying, enjoyable. It used to be fun just to watch the movie. So I think this is just it's poor marketing, it's poor planning, it's poor alignment. They're just mixing and matching things that I just think are taking away from what is a good experience. I would love to see behind the scenes content of it again and how they made it, but I don't want to be watching it while the movie's going on. And I don't want to only have that experience in this movie theater. I would love to be able to just
What if they could hack in the movie and just change the movie, right? A computer guy.
Or put it in the pre movie or the post movie. I'll stay for 10 minutes after a movie to see how it was made and get a look behind the scenes or special content.
I can actually see them doing that in this library because it's so innovative in here.
Sure.
You have a room like this, nobody's, you have only people who want to do it.
Of course.
That's a big point, so.
I mean, maybe if it's I don't know if anyone here saw Rocky Horror Picture Show in the movie theater experience. It's designed to be interactive. It's designed to be, we get to yell at the screen, we get to do something together. It's more interactive. I think people crave that.
Yeah.
So the element of let's make this an interactive movie experience makes sense at its core, but the idea of let me put a phone in between me and the live experience is weird.
They should have maybe I'm thinking because it's a genius for marketing because now they collect everyone's Facebook account, so now they're in your messenger.
Yes,
It's amazing. But why don't you have them do it 5 minutes to 3 days before the movie? Encourage them to get their tickets ahead of time. Do this ahead or do it after. But why during? Why you can still collect their info. I mean, hello, business people. I don't know.
And
So
then,
essentially, it's all your fault because you used to work for them.
So
that's it for news. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more from our live studio audience.
Yay!
Hey everybody, it's Todd McFarlane of the record-setting Spawn comic series. And if you're looking for any kind of cool conversation about creators, about entertainment, about all that good stuff, you go to It Came From The Radio. You're listening to the right spot.
This is Quentin Flynn. Otherwise known for Axel.
No, I was in college.
From the Metal Gear series. You're listening to It Came From The Radio.
Downtown Philly.
Stick
On a
around.
Friday night. And then I went to the festival.
Hey, I'm Mike Kingston, writer and creator of Headlocks,
you were
and I'm still going to be Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler. And guess what you're listening to? You're listening to It Came From The Radio.
They said, hey, shoot the gun.
Hi, this is Amy Jo Johnson, writer-director of the film The Space Between, and you're listening to
I used to work
It
right
Came From The
here.
Radio.
I was an usher.
Oh, the water guy.
Having fun on It. Meet Greg Berger also.
Now, back to our show.
Comedy
And
club.
welcome
And
back
so
to
in the
the
summer,
Radio,
stayed
the
there.
official
So we-
Hip Hop Podcast. This is our host, Mark Torres, speaking from our live studio audience. Our 93rd live show. Our co-host, El Man, ran away for a minute, but I'm here with our senior correspondent, Charles Saladino.
I'm still here.
Hey!
Our special guest. Author, do you qualify as a children's author, children's horror author, what's the official title?
Definitely author. I have one here, horror books for adults and children, because I write for both adults and kids.
Alright, so Anastasia Garcia.
Yes.
So we actually met at the Long Island Convention of Horror, And it was your first convention ever.
First convention ever, first time tabling.
So
That,
how
our
long?
tables were right next to each
Yeah,
other.
I learned so much. I learned so much from Mark and Charlie.
How long did you decide I'm going to be an author? Because if that was your first convention, this was this year.
Mm-hmm.
What's the time frame between starting your journey as an author
Yeah.
to when you first had a table?
Yeah, so I would say my journey started as a published author in 2020. I think 2020, everybody went indoors and essentially reconnected with their hobbies and things that they like to do. And that year, I read over 70 books, and I was like, I have all this time on my hand. I'm sitting indoors in front of my computer. We're now working from home. I don't commute. What do I do all day? And I had plenty of time to just like dream up ideas and stories and start actually putting pen to paper. So I actually started crafting short stories right about then. And in 2020, I sold a couple of short stories. One of those is over there. He has it in a nice book. And I made, in 1 year of writing, I made $250. So I was not quitting my day job, but it was allowing me to like be more creative, build a skill, build a craft. So that was 2020. Published a couple of short stories, and then around 2022, they actually reached out to me to write a book. Reached out to a group of authors. They asked, does anybody know how to write horror for kids? And nobody said anything. And I was like, I don't write horror for kids, but I think I can try. I think I have some stories that I could convert to children's stories. And truthfully, it took forever. It took a year of writing, and then it took like another year of actually building the book itself. And then this book came out last year, July of 2024, my first published book. And then my second one came out just last month in April. And so it's a journey from 2020 is when it started, 2024 first book, 2025 first table.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
You're on the fast track.
I'm trying.
We've spoken to many people who have years and years and years,
Sure, yeah.
decades,
Yeah.
you know, doing it. And you just kind of did the fast track.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Do you find that you found that niche, that your stories can resonate with the audience? Why do you think it is that you managed to navigate where so many other people had difficulty too?
Yeah, I think so. Some people, some people make the choice to make it their career, and that's hard because by doing so, you put a lot of pressure on yourself to commit and achieve and reach and goal. And sometimes you along the way you let go of some of the free opportunities or the casual opportunities, and because you have a central goal. And so for me, I was incredibly fortunate that like my day job pays the bills. I had free time, I had the ability, I had the internet, I had a computer, I had resources to sit and actually contribute to my hobby. Some people don't have all access to those things. And so I had some time to dedicate it and actually think about it. Also, I will be honest, writing, so there are so many talented writers out there who just can't market their book to the right audience. They just don't have that skill set. How are you supposed to be a prolific writer and a prolific pitcher, salesman of your own work? And how are you supposed to be a networker, being able to build connections with people you know and constantly keep up with it and do a lot of that work? It's a skill that you're asking a writer to have, which is very difficult.
Yeah.
And so I was very lucky that my day job is marketing.
Right.
So I don't discount that that's a huge privilege, a whole career of skills that I have that a lot of writers just don't have. So I could easily apply it. I could build a website. I could write a pitch email. I could draft out a book proposal. A book proposal is very much what I do for work, but for companies, you know. So there was so much of this latent skill that I had as a marketer in my career that really contributed to being able to sell a book, sell myself as an author, sell the opportunity of why this book is a good idea and why you should buy it from me, why I'm a good author, why I should write this book. So I had a lot of that skill that I think a lot of authors just don't have when they're building out. And that's why I contribute quite a lot to my Horror Writers Association. I like helping other writers who are writing horror get out into the world. I actually just hosted a horror marketing, how to market yourself and your book to my group, because I felt like so much of this skill is gatekeeping. People don't know how to do it. It's hard. It's confusing. Where do I start? Yeah. And so I just like being able to share some of my general skills with the authors in general. You made me scared that this is going to fall.
No. It's great. No.
I would like to ask you, having read one of your stories, where did you get that from? Because I'm reading it and I'm saying, oh, this is not going. They're not going to a happy place. You know, I don't want to give
Spoil.
it.
Yeah.
But so I'm sort of seeing this, and I'm like, I met her. Where the hell did you get this from? This because it was kind of dark and
Yes,
yeah.
the story that he's talking about in that book is based on a flesh-eating tree. Yeah, the book is called Shadow Atlas. You can buy it on Amazon. It's a collection, an anthology of a bunch of short stories from horror authors all over, and one of my short stories is in there. It's called Author Anastasia. It's about a man-eating tree. It's a tree that like flesh eats, and it's apparently real. So the idea came from, I read this book from the 1800s. It's wild that I found it on an archive website. Where it was talking about, this guy says he traveled in South and North America back in the 1800s, and he discovered monsters along the way. And he essentially would grab people's stories. There was legends, there was folklore, there were stories that they told over and over, and they would write them into little short snippets, and he would organize them. It's called By Land and Sea. And he would organize it by, I found this one in the ocean, I found this one in land, I found this as a plant. And so one of the plants that he wrote about was this tree that could talk. It sounds like it could talk. It was saying Yataveo, which is I see you, I see you. And so they said it would make a noise and it would eat people. Like they would throw people in it and he would eat them.
Yeah.
And so it was apparently real.
Really?
Yeah, from South America. And I was like, nobody ever writes about like cryptid trees or cryptid plants or foliage. And so when they looked, they did a call for like South American horror or stories of legend. I was like, I think I have an idea.
Yeah, it was great the way you worked in the story from the idea of the tree.
Yeah.
That was really good. My second question is, there's a line in a song and it says, what writers have to feel like when they finally discover they've been read? The first time you discovered you've been read?
That somebody read my stories?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. I think it was maybe the first time somebody posted about my book. And they were just like, they bought it, they found it in a store randomly. It wasn't like they stumbled upon me. They found it in a store and they were like, I found this great book. It's something I would have liked when I was a kid.
Right.
And that really meant a lot to me because that's exactly what I write for, is I'm writing for, when I was a kid there was Goosebumps, sure, but I felt like Goosebumps wasn't scary enough. I felt like Fear Street didn't quite have the edge that I wanted. I felt like I wanted academia. I wanted a little bit more academic horror, something that said, where did this come from? What inspired this? So when I found someone said what I had been thinking, that felt like, okay, even if 10 people read my books ever, like I feel like I've connected with someone who really wanted to read it, who really enjoyed it, who really found it.
So you're writing these horror stories, scary stories for kids. Now, I would say I'm probably just as a human not kid friendly. Like I can make them healthy food, but when it comes to my vernacular, I had my orthodontist last week push my shoulders down because I said a curse word when answering his question. He goes, "Don't say that," and I was like, "Oh my god!" I mean, it was just Larry David anyway. So, what types of things have you removed from stories or issues you've had where you're like, this isn't exactly kid friendly. I gotta take this out. Like, how do you do that?
Horror, the things about horror that are exciting is they're kind of like, they're tittillating. There's there's even like the whole Friday the 13th, when it's like high school kids out in the woods, you know what I mean? Like there's like a depth. So that stuff you definitely remove. Like there's no romantic relationships in here generally. I'm writing for about tween age. Tween age, what's important to tweens is coming of age, finding their strength, finding who they are, finding their friends, finding friendships are really big in there. Understanding their independence from their parents, like understanding how they, how they grow, what's interesting to them, how are they going to fight back if there's a bully, what do they do if they're under stress or under pressure, or dealing with something that's outside forces. So generally, when you're writing for that kid age, I strip out some of the stuff that you see in a lot of horror movies. There's not too much blood and guts, but there's a little bit. There's definitely death. One of the stories actually in here deals with grief. She lost her grandmother, and so her and her mom are cleaning out her grandmother's house, and that's where they find things. So she's dealing with what happens after death, what did her grandmother leave behind for her, and then someone comes trying to prey on their family at a week's time, trying to prey on them monetarily you should invest in this. So she's got to build up her wile. She's got to learn what her grandmother taught her and apply it to this use case to get away from the evil. So I think kids can deal with some very heavy things.
Yeah.
Kids can deal with death. Kids can deal with divorce, with loss, with trauma, with bullying for sure, with not fitting in, danger. They can deal with some very heavy topics. So I never like towing around those. Like those are real.
Right.
Kids feel that, and so a lot of the stories will deal with some heavier things. But I hope by the end of the story they feel a little bit braver, like they've managed to take it on. They've defeated the monster, sometimes literal, sometimes not, and that hopefully kids can feel a little stronger after they've read a couple of books and stories.
Sold.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what about the parents? Because you're targeting it to their kids, but realistically the parents are the ones that are buying the book. So how do you manage that balance between making it something that the parents will be like, yeah, my kid can read this, but also that I want to be cool, so I don't want my mom to think to get this for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where do you find that balance? How do you know
What
where that
rules?
is?
Yeah.
Is there rules? Rules like anything, what you can do and can't do.
Yeah. There's elements of like, so if you pick up this book out of the kids section, there won't be anything that's going to be, anything basically over, let's say PG-13. So there's going to be nothing beyond that. But like the books themselves are designed to be hardcover, nice. They glow in the dark.
Yeah.
They have illustrations for each story. So like I would love a parent to be like, ooh, this is a nice book. It's not just a throwaway cheap book that my kid's gonna ruin. It's a nice book. I want to have it. I want to hold it. I would like my kid to put it on their shelf. Or even if you're not buying for your kids, but you're buying for a family friend, a niece and nephew, you feel like it's a giftable something. So I hope it appeals a little bit to parents to pick it off the shelf. So if a kid brings it to you, it's not a pulp fiction. It's not just going to be like a paperback something. It's hopefully a little something that shows like we thought about it, we created it with care, and it's worth your investment. It's a little pricier than some books. And then secondly, each of the stories has a fright meter, so 1 to 3, like how scary the book is, or the story. So if a kid is like, I don't like scary things, I have nieces that are like, is there blood? I don't want it if there's blood. They can start with all the 1 stories. And then if there's a kid that's like, I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre at 5 years old, I'm ready. Then they can go straight to the 3s. So I hope that allows parents to feel a little bit more confident that like, you're not just throwing them into the deep end and making them watch The Exorcist, but you are letting them like find their way to the scarier stuff.
That's really smart because I get scared easily.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want it. I don't want to see anything scary before bed. I'm 40.
Yeah.
So I wish movies came with
With a little bit of a
and then maybe I'd watch some horror movies. But I swore off horror movies in 2007. I just produced them.
Yeah.
I won't watch them.
Yeah. What's
terrifying?
What's the scariest?
Hostel 2 ruined my life for 2 years. I said,
Well,
if I'm going to break up
Hostel,
with this boy, Hostel 2. Hostel
Wow.
1, Hostel 2 will ruin lives, I promise you. Terrifying.
You had that like right on the tip of your tongue. You were like, no.
Oh, terrifying. You can't live alone. You won't want to live, you won't want to travel. I'm done traveling. I mean, I was already done, but no.
So what scares you?
Yeah, I'm scared of you. Yeah.
I think, I think now that I'm getting, it's an abrupt ending when something ends without cause. You know what I mean? Like there is no more. So this could be death. Yeah, this could be death. This could be like no more second chances. If there's like an ending that happens, it's really scary to me that like you don't get a chance to exist anymore in a being. So death is kind of easy, but it's more just that like you no longer exist. So sometimes you get smited. So like in some of these stories, there's an element of like you get zipped out of time and space and you no longer exist. And to me, that's terrifying. But also something else, and this is just general. I'm not trying to get political or anything, but I also don't like the idea of taking books away from kids to read.
Yeah, sure.
So I mean, obviously, because like maybe some people will look at my books and be like, "That's too scary. Kids aren't allowed to read books like that." But I think giving kids the option to see and read a bunch of different things, obviously kid friendly, but having the option to read things that is very valuable. And I think the idea that we're taking away opportunity from our little ones to try things, to experience things, to find a love of reading in all kinds of elements is scary and sad, and it's not the world I want to live in.
Yeah, great.
So when you're writing stuff, now that we know what scares you, have you ever written something that scared you as you're writing? Like, oh, this is really good, I'm scared. But
Right.
if you can control the story, can you scare yourself?
That's actually very true. I do.
I'm gonna write it too.
Yeah, I do write late at night, so if, in the dark, because it's usually when everybody's asleep, and it's usually when I have free time, and it's usually when like my brain can like go into dark to interesting places. So sometimes I write in the dark, and then my cat will show up, and that'll scare me. And sometimes I'll be like la 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 la, and then something will just like inspire, will give me a sense of like, oh no, that actually is freaky. One of the stories in here is one of the tropes I really love is when something looks familiar but it's not. And in this story, I have a story called "Something's Wrong with Mother," and it's about a girl whose mother, she was misbehaving, and her mother had to go on a business trip, and her mother said, so she says, they didn't apologize. She said something, she didn't apologize, and her mom had to leave. So her mom left on a business trip and came back different. And this is actually based on a 100-year-old Victorian story called The Pearl Drum, in exactly that same situation where these kids were misbehaving, their mother says, I will leave and I won't come back and you'll get another mother. And so sure enough, in this story, she gets a mother, but the mother is slightly different. And that one really eked me out. I crafted each line, I really thought about it, and I wrote it, and I considered it. And I spent so much thinking about like what would feel familiar but then not be familiar, and how much could I put in there to make it look normal but feel wrong. And so that took a lot of time to think about, and that one really freaked me out.
So I used to do stand-up, so a lot of people, actually even recently, I don't know, an older friend of mine, I guess close to 60s, whatever, she sent me a joke, and she sent me jokes a few times. So, as a writer, people may go, oh yeah, this will be a great story. Are there any ideas that were given to you where like, I am absolutely never writing that, you're out of your freaking mind?
Like off the table? I don't
know, anything you could share that you're like, I'm not doing that, or you want to do it.
I would like to do it, but yeah, I think that there's quite a lot of good books. I think the hard ones is when you pick familiar monsters. That's always hard, because somebody's like, write a vampire story, and you're like, I would, but everybody's seen a vampire 100 times, and the challenge that it would take to, like, probably a joke too, when somebody says like, ooh, do this, and you're like, the time it would take to make that perfectly funny and hit at the right time, the time it would take to make a vampire totally unique and totally different. I tried it. In this book, there's one called The Visitor, which is my take on a kind of vampire, but it is a lot of work. So vampires, zombies, they always want me to do zombies, and I'm like, they're so hard.
Really?
Because like zombies, there's a familiarity to zombies, and you want them. Yeah, there's kind of a rule to a zombie, and you want them to be to function the same way, because it's fun to watch the zombie origin story. It's fun to watch the fighting the zombies, defeating the zombies, getting taken over. There's like a structure to them. It's very hard to do it totally unique.
You like your own structure.
Yeah, I like to try and build it from scratch. Yes.
See, I just finished a vampire movie and a zombie movie of 3 years, just wrapped a couple days ago. And it was like easy. I would never think of that. But see, that shows, I think, how original you are, that you like to create your own world. You don't want to have to like fit someone else's world into your world.
Sure. Yeah, and how's it for you making the zombie movies? Do you feel like you've done a good? Yeah, you're like, I know how they work. I know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, but I said you'll have green guts, and we'll have green and black and red. So that's something we made up. But there's like kind of some type of rules-ish to it, and like vampire-ish sort of.
Yeah, a little something. The Last of Us has been really good to me. That was slightly new, like the idea of like mushroom vampires, or vampires being possessed by mushrooms, and that. I mean, not vampires, sorry, zombies. The idea that the other, and then obviously 28 Days Later making rage zombies, totally new to us. Like that completely broke the genre. Making scary ones.
They're gonna probably come out with, like you said, the gay ones, gay in space, gay zombies, right? I mean, they're gonna have, right? What are you gonna have?
Yeah, I like that.
Have the space, gay zombies, whatever. And then you got one whole, female or male, maybe.
One of the things that you've mentioned a couple of times, listeners may not have picked up on, was something that you mentioned to me when we first met, that you had to do a lot of research on different types of stories. How much research do you do to find the story that this is the story I want to do?
I read quite a lot of, I have lots and lots of older books. I find them in like used bookstores where it's like ghost stories of the Wild West and old vampires of here, and or Chinese legends and fairy tales, and so I collect a bunch of those, and then I just like slightly, when I have time, like one before bed, I'll read one before bed, I'll read one before bed, and then I always put little post-it notes on the ones that are scary, because if they're scary in an old book from 100 years ago, or even 1800s years ago, then I know they're still scary today. There's something in it that's interesting that I would like to take into, like, what is it about something that stayed scary over the centuries? Right. Like the pearl drum I was mentioning, like the idea that another mother would show up and then you had no choice in the matter, and then you had no way of fighting off your mother. She's supposed to be here for you. Yeah. So like if there's something weird in an old story, I like to mark it. And so there are so I just have a little, like, I don't know, shelf of books, and every now and then I'll revisit the ones that I post-it noted, and I'll try and, or I'll read a brand new one from scratch and see if, like, how many of them I actually like. And then just see where it goes. So I've done a little bit of like lead up research, and so now I just kind of have to go back and pick them out. But I would say years and years of reading, just being a reader.
So we're at social media time. So where can people find out more about your books? Where can they find out where you're going to be at appearances? All that fun stuff. Go.
Yes. So you can pick up one of these, but you can find me at frightstotellatnight.com. I have an author website, but frightstotellatnight.com has all of my latest and greatest. And that's where you can find a little bit about me, a little bit more about these books. You can also find links to buy these books, and then events that I'm going to be at. So this weekend, I will be at the Gold Coast Book Fair in Oyster Bay. That'll be the next book. I will be reading a book in the kids' tent, the Tell Me a Story tent, for the kids on Sunday. And then I will also be at StokerCon, if anyone's going to that horror convention in Connecticut this June. And then I'll be in and around. I'm doing a couple more readings, I'm doing a couple more events, so in and around.
And all that's on, you're going to be on your website?
On my website, frightstotellatnight.com, and then you can find me on Instagram at Anastasia Writes.
Right. The Oyster Bay is Saturday too?
Yeah, Sunday.
It's Sunday?
It's both days, but I'll be there on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were nice enough to give away one of your books. Which book are you going to give away? Tell us about that book.
Creepy,
a little description.
Yeah, Creepy Campfire Stories. Somebody will get a wonderful copy of this. They are fully illustrated. As mentioned, they've got fright level, they've got 20 books, and then if you want to know behind the scenes of all the stories, I wrote a little something in the back. And I'm happy to sign them today. And as we mentioned, the cover glows in the dark.
Right.
And we're also going to be giving away tickets to the Trek Long Island, which is a Star Trek convention at the end of the month. For more information, go to www.trek.li. It's their third convention. See, their third successful convention. Tons of Star Trek people there.
Yeah, you know.
Hey. Okay.
Yeah, you're
I'll read it. Oh, I read it.
You pick it, you read it.
Okay. 376704.
3763-704.
That came after me.
376704.
704.
You came after me. I have three.
704.
I think
Person
I
after
have
me.
4.
You
704.
came after
Yeah,
me.
there you go.
Yeah, you got it.
Got it?
You got the
That's
book.
you?
Yep.
There you go.
We'll get the signing and everything.
Do we have any final thoughts? We're almost out of time, Anastasia.
No, thank you all so much for having me. I can't believe you've done this almost 100 times.
Yeah.
A lot of different
It's
people.
at the East Meadow Public Library.
Yes.
They have tons and tons of stuff. They have a convention every year. They have tons of programming on their website. That's www.eastmeadow.info. And we're here once a month in addition to our show on WGBB. Troy, do you have any final thoughts?
Just thank you for coming down. I love your stories. And thank you again. And be nice to everybody.
Of course.
Yeah, harder or not, right?
Invisalign can ruin your life. Yes.
So, my final thought is this. Anastasia, thank you for being a guest on the show. It was a pleasure meeting you. And what I found most interesting was that you did that research and decided to do horror outside the normal, I guess, confines of the horror world. And the fact that you were also a children's horror author. But it didn't feel like you were a children's horror author. I don't know if I can say that as a compliment or not, but it's like, you weren't like...
It's not stupid.
Yes.
I definitely don't, I never loved
You didn't talk down to it.
Thank you.
No, I would love this as a kid.
Yeah.
And now, probably now even.
Someone that
So, that about does it for this week on It Came From the Radio. Join us right here every week on our radio site. If you miss any part of our show,
Tough.
go to our website, www.itcamefromradio.com. Listen to our archives will be up in a week or so. Our next live show will be at the East Meadow Public Library on Wednesday, June 11th. We're going to have award-winning publisher and editor of Tales Beyond, Chris Burgos, and he'll be giving away one of his books for a raffle, and we should also be giving away another convention. I think we're going to be giving away to the Topic Con. So that is it, and we'll see you next time on It Came From the Radio in front of a live studio audience.
Yay! Yay!
You've been listening to It Came From the Radio with Mark Torres. The views of the show's hosts and guests